What if I told you that dizzy head rush you feel every time you stand up after 70 has nothing to do with your blood pressure medication? It's not low iron. It's not just getting older. It's not even your heart. Not really. The real cause is something called your skeletal muscle pump, and I'd bet nobody has ever explained it to you. Not your family doctor, not your cardiologist, not even the pharmacist who refilled your blood pressure pills. I'm a physical therapist who has spent years working with older adults on exactly this problem. The moment you stand and the room tilts sideways for a second, your hand shoots out for the nearest solid surface, and you wait it out, hoping nobody saw. And here's why this matters. Research shows this affects roughly 20 to 30% of people over 65, which means if you felt it, you are nowhere near alone. And it also means this is common enough that there should be a clear, well-understood fix, not a shrug and a just be careful. Let me tell you about Frank. Frank is 74, retired, still sharp as a tack, still does the crossword every morning with his coffee. But every single morning, before the coffee even gets poured, he swings his legs out of bed, stands up to grab his robe, and the room goes gray at the edges for 2 or 3 seconds. His ears ring faintly, his knees feel like they might not hold him, and for a second he's not sure whether to sit back down or grab something. He grips the dresser, waits it out, and it passes, the same way it has passed every morning for the last 2 years. He mentioned it to his doctor once, who told him, "That's just what happens when you get older. Stand up slower." Frank did stand up slower. He counted to 5 before rising. He braced his hand on the mattress first, and it still happened every single time. And what really got under his skin was that nobody could tell him why his legs, specifically, seemed to be part of the problem. Because it never happened when he was sitting, only in that first moment of standing, which made him wonder if it was really just age at all, or something more specific that nobody had bothered to explain to him. Before we get into exactly what's happening in Frank's legs and the one move that fixes it, if you're finding this helpful, go ahead and hit subscribe and tap that bell so you don't miss the rest of these. And do me a favor, if you're enjoying this video, type A1 in the comments, and if it's not landing for you, type A0, so I know how to make the next one better for you. So here's the visible symptom in plain terms. You stand up, and for 2 to 5 seconds your vision grays, your head feels light, maybe the room tilts. That's the part everyone notices. Here's the part almost nobody knows. When you stand, gravity pulls a huge share of your blood, close to 70% of what's circulating, straight down into your legs and your belly. That blood has to get back up to your heart and your brain fast, or your brain simply doesn't get enough pressure to stay sharp for those first few seconds. In a younger body, the muscles in your legs, especially your calves, your thighs, and your glutes, act like a second heart. Every time those muscles contract even slightly, they squeeze the veins running through them like someone stepping on a garden hose in rhythm. And that squeeze shoves blood upward, against gravity, back toward your chest and up to your brain. That's your skeletal muscle pump. It's not your actual heart, but it works alongside it as a genuine second circulatory system, one made of muscle instead of cardiac tissue. And for most of your life, you never had to think about it, because it just fired automatically the instant you stood, quietly doing its job in the background of every single day. Here's the mechanism shift that happens with age, and this is the part your doctor probably never mentioned. What to focus on? Most people rush this and barely lift their heels an inch. You want a full deliberate range of motion, heel all the way up, then all the way down, so the calf muscle actually squeezes the vein underneath it. The cue is squeeze, don't wiggle. Once this feels easy, here's your progress tip. Add ankle weights of 1 or 2 pounds, or hold each lift for a 2 count at the top before lowering. Next is seated marching, which builds on the same principle but brings in your thigh muscles too. Why this matters? Your thigh muscles, particularly the quadriceps, are the second largest pump in this system, and getting them involved means more blood gets pushed back toward your heart before you're even upright. How to do it? Sit tall in a sturdy chair, feet hip-width apart, and lift one knee up toward your chest as high as comfortably possible, then lower it and immediately lift the other knee. Do this for 20 total lifts, 10 per leg, at a steady marching pace. Not fast, not jerky. What to focus on? Keep your back straight against the chair. The common mistake is leaning forward to get the knee higher, which actually reduces how much the thigh muscle has to work. The cue is tall spine, lift from the hip. Progress tip. Once this is easy, add a 1-second pause at the top of each knee lift to increase the muscle's time under tension. Third is the standing calf raise, which takes the same movement from earlier and does it once you're already up. So the pump keeps working continuously, rather than just at the start. Why this matters? Remember, the dizziness window is 2 to 5 seconds, and it can flicker back if you stand still too long right after getting up. So continuing the pump for a few seconds after standing extends your protection. How to do it. Stand holding onto a countertop or sturdy chair back for support, feet hip-width apart. Rise up onto your toes, hold for 2 seconds, then lower back down. Repeat for 10 repetitions immediately after you stand up, before you start walking anywhere. What to focus on. Don't let your ankles roll outward. The cue is big toe presses down as you rise, and which keeps your balance centered. Progress tip. Once you're steady, try it without holding on, with your hand hovering an inch from the counter just in case. Fourth is the leg crossing, tense and release, a technique used specifically in clinical settings for exactly this kind of dizziness. Why this matters. Crossing your legs and squeezing compresses a larger network of veins in both legs at once, which clinical studies on counter-pressure techniques have shown can meaningfully support blood pressure in the moments right after standing. How to do it. Once you're standing and holding support, cross one leg tightly over the other at the ankle or shin, then squeeze both legs together as hard as comfortably possible for a count of 10. Release, switch which leg is crossed on top, and repeat once. What to focus on. People tend to squeeze their fists instead of their legs out of habit. The cue is, the effort goes into your thighs and glutes, not your hands. Progress tip. Combine it with the standing calf raise, alternating between the two for a fuller routine. Fifth is gluteal squeezes, which round out the lower body pump because your glutes sit right along major blood vessels returning to your heart. Why this matters. This is one of the most overlooked muscles in this entire system, even though it plays a real role in pushing blood upward through the pelvis. How to do it. While standing, simply squeeze your buttocks together tightly, hold for 3 seconds, release, and repeat for 10 repetitions. You can do this the moment you're upright, even while waiting for the calf pump to catch up. What to focus on. Keep breathing normally, since people often hold their breath during this one, which can actually work against you. The cue is squeeze and breathe. Progress tip. Hold each squeeze for 5 seconds instead of 3 once it feels easy. As we get older, the connection between I am standing up and my leg muscles should squeeze now gets slower and weaker. Researchers have actually measured this directly, using electrical readings from the calf muscles alongside real-time blood pressure tracking. They compared young adults to older adults and found a measurable decline in how strongly the leg muscles respond to help stabilize blood pressure the moment you stand, compared to younger people, a real documented gap between the two groups. Think of it like a light switch with a loose wire. The bulb still works, the electricity is still there, but the connection is delayed, so the light flickers before it comes on, maybe stutters for a second or two before settling. Your muscle pump still works, it's just slow to engage. And those 2 to 5 seconds of dizziness are the gap between you standing up and your leg muscles catching up to where they should already be. This also explains something that's probably confused you for years. Why it only happens right when you stand and almost never once you've been up and moving for a minute or two. Once you're walking, your legs are naturally contracting with every step, so the pump gets going on its own. The dangerous gap is only that first handful of seconds, the window between I am now vertical and my legs have started helping. That's the exact window we're going to close. And here's the hope part, because this is completely fixable, and I mean that specifically. Not as a polite thing to say before selling you exercises. You are not stuck with this. You can't rewire the automatic reflex to be instantly faster on its own. That part of aging is simply out of your direct control. But you can manually trigger the exact same pump, on purpose, with your own muscles, a few seconds before you even stand. So it's already primed and actively moving blood before gravity starts pulling it down into your legs. That's the one simple move this video is named for. And we're about to build it together piece by piece so you actually understand why it works instead of just memorizing a trick you'll forget by next week. Let's start with the core move itself. the one that directly targets this. This is sometimes called calf pumping or ankle pumping, and it's the fastest way to wake up that muscle pump before you stand. Here's why this matters. Your calf muscles hold the largest share of blood pumping power in your lower legs, so activating them first is like turning the key in the ignition before you put the car in drive. Here's how to do it. While you're still sitting or lying in bed, plant both feet flat on the floor. Lift your heels up and down like you're pressing on a gas pedal for 10 full repetitions. Then flip it, keep your heels down, and lift your toes up toward your shins for another 10 repetitions. Do this slowly, about 1 second up, 1 second down. This is exactly the move that would have caught Frank before he even stood up that morning, waking up his calf pump while he was still safely seated on the edge of the bed. Sixth is the seated to standing transition itself, reshaped into a deliberate two-step process instead of one motion. Why this matters. Standing in one continuous rush is exactly when the muscle pump gets caught flat-footed, so breaking it into 2 steps gives your legs time to engage. How to do it. Sit at the edge of your chair or bed, do 10 heel raises as we described earlier, then push up to standing and pause there for a full 3 seconds before taking your first step, using that pause to do 5 quick calf raises. What to focus on. The biggest mistake is standing and immediately walking away. The cue is stand, then pause, then go. Progress tip. Once this feels automatic, reduce the pause to 2 seconds since your pump should be firing faster by then. Seventh, and this one is simple but often skipped, is hydration timing paired with movement. While this isn't a muscle exercise, why it matters connects directly back to the mechanism. Your blood volume affects how much fluid is available for that pump to move in the first place, and mild dehydration makes the whole system work harder for the same result. How to do it. Drink a full glass of water within 30 minutes of waking up, before you do your first stand of the day. What to focus on. Don't wait until you're thirsty, since thirst is a delayed signal in older adults. The cue is water before your feet hit the floor. Progress tip. Keep a glass on your nightstand the night before so it's already there. Before your final exercise, I want you to picture Frank again, doing his heel raises while still sitting on the edge of the bed, priming that same calf pump we just talked about, seconds before he stands, so that by the time gravity pulls blood into his legs, the pump is already moving it back. Eighth and last is the wall-supported sit-to-stand rehearsal, which ties every piece together into one flowing sequence. Why this matters. This combines the seated heel raises, the marching, and the standing calf raise into a single practiced routine, so your body starts doing it automatically, without you having to think through each step. How to do it. Sit near a wall or sturdy counter. Do 10 heel raises, 10 seated marches, then stand slowly using the counter for support. Pause 3 seconds. Do 5 standing calf raises, then take your first step. Practice this sequence twice a day for 2 weeks. What to focus on. Consistency matters more than intensity here. The cue is same order every time until it's automatic. Progress tip. Once it's automatic, start practicing it without holding on to anything, with support nearby just in case. Now a few important safety notes before you try any of this, because these exercises involve standing, balance, and blood pressure changes, and that combination deserves real caution. If you have a diagnosed heart condition, uncontrolled high or low blood pressure, Parkinson's, disease or diabetes with nerve involvement, please check with your doctor before starting these exercises, since these conditions can change how your body responds to standing and may need a modified approach specific to you. If you fainted before, not just felt dizzy but actually lost consciousness, that's also a conversation to have with your doctor first, since fainting can have causes beyond what we've covered here. If you ever feel actual pain, not just muscle fatigue, stop immediately and don't push through it. If at any point during these exercises you feel like you might actually faint, rather than just feel briefly lightheaded, sit or lie back down right away rather than trying to finish the set. And always wear supportive closed-back shoes rather than socks or slippers when practicing the standing exercises, since a stable base matters just as much as the exercises themselves, especially on smooth flooring like tile or hardwood. So let's bring this back to Frank, and to you. That gray-out moment at the edge of the bed was never really about age catching up with him. And it was never some vague, unfixable part of getting older that he just had to accept. It was about a pump that still works perfectly well. It just needs a head start. A few seconds of priming before gravity starts pulling blood down into his legs the moment he stands. Once Frank started doing his heel raises before standing, and pausing for that standing calf raise afterward, the gray out started fading within days, and within a couple of weeks, it barely happened at all, to the point where he stopped bracing his hand on the dresser out of habit every morning. That's not about pushing through dizziness or being braver about standing up, and it was never about willpower in the first place. It's about giving a slow reflex the running start it actually needs, on purpose, every single time you stand. Imagine walking to your mailbox without that split second of gripping the doorframe, without that little flicker of worry every time you get up from the couch. Imagine bending down to pick up your grandchild's toy off the floor and standing back up without the room tilting, without having to brace yourself first or wait for the gray edges to clear. Imagine trusting your own legs again. The first moment you stand every single time instead of half expecting that familiar wave to hit. That's what this is actually for, not just avoiding one scary moment, but getting back all the small, ordinary parts of your day that this has been quietly taking from you, one cautious stand at a time, without you even fully realizing it was happening. In an upcoming video, we're going to dig into a related issue, the specific reason your legs feel heavier by the end of the day, and one move that helps with that too. Until then, here's to standing steady and living life on your own terms. If you enjoyed this video, comment 1. If not, comment 0. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.